My toxic friend that I cut off after 21 years. Alright, so my friend, let's call her Olivia. Thank you, One Direction. I've known her since kindergarten and everything was fine until we got to high school. She started to get a reputation of being the boy stalker of the entire school. She would somehow find guys' numbers and she would message them, never getting the hint that they weren't interested, and people just weren't too keen on her because they were afraid of her. When it came to boys, there was no boundaries. She actually messaged my sister's boyfriend after she went with me to visit my grandpa while he was in hospice. My sister's boyfriend was with her. She met him for probably 1 second, didn't even say anything, messaged him on Facebook that night and basically said, "Hi, I'm Olivia, we met at the hospital." Girl, why are you sliding into his DMs right now? Not only that, but there was actually a guy that I was talking to. Guess whose DMs that she slid in? He ended up sending me the text messages of proof saying, like, is this your friend? She was hitting on the guy that I was talking to. This is supposed to be my best friend, mind you. We got in a fight. Things were fine. I always end up taking her back because I'm too much of an empath, and I was just like, okay, you made a mistake. She didn't, though, because we ended up going to college together, and this is where things get really bad. There were these two guys. I thought one was cute. She thought the other one was cute. Her guy was also really interesting. He would keep girls' underwear and put them on his fan in his room. So that's the kind of guy that she was going after. I don't even think I ever spoke to my guy. I just thought he was, like, cute. But this is where it gets bad. So we were in, like, the common room one day, and her guy is passing, and me and her are playing pool. He comes in, and he's trying to be, like, all flirtatious and says, like, oh, like, can I play pool with you guys? She walks away. She goes to sit down on the couch, and then she's looking at me, like, angrily, like, and I'm like, what are you doing? This is your moment to shine. The idiotic guy goes, oh, winner gets a kiss. So I'm like, oh my God, Olivia, what are you playing? Like, this was the perfect setup. The guy he didn't even care. He just wanted anybody. So I was like, listen, he's ready to go. Okay, you really wanted him. Let's do this. She's just staring at me. So I'm like, okay, this is great. I did not entertain his conversation whatsoever. I ended up leaving with her, and I'm like, we're not doing this. As we're leaving, the guy that I think is cute is passing, and he looks in and he just waves. That was it. Nothing else. A wave. She's still mad. So I'm like, what happened here? She ends up sending me a really long paragraph that night about how she's upset that her guy said the kiss thing when I literally was trying to be her wing woman, and then she was mad that the guy I thought was cute waved at me. So this entire book, I shouldn't even call it a paragraph, this book is her describing how she's upset because she thinks I'm pretty. She's describing how she's upset that the guy I think is cute waved at me, and I said, why would that make you upset? Like, you should be happy for me because that's the only interaction I've had with this man. She did not care. I couldn't understand feeling like insecure, but I didn't do anything wrong. But she was directing her anger at me. So that was that. Let's fast forward, and I actually started talking to a guy at college. And this was like actually, like, we weren't dating, but we were seeing each other. This is where it gets really, really weird, okay? Things are going well with this guy. He's literally sleeping over. She literally has the audacity to text me one day and go, hey, so I think me, you, and blank should go on a vacation together. Maybe we can share him. She did not mean, like, all of us having a party together, and which I would also not be okay with. She literally, to the T, wrote, I can have him one night, you can have him the other. A guy that I'm actually, like, talking to. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me how you have the audacity to bring that up. I kind of let that slide because, again, I always took her back after a fight. I don't know why. I think it's because I felt sorry that she didn't really have any other friends, and I've known her for so long, so I'm like, oh, it's just like something that she does. I ended up leaving the college like a few months later. I just wanted to do different things, and thankfully I did because during this time is when I met my now husband. She did not like this. She did not like that A, I had somebody who liked me, and she also didn't like that B, I left the school. She ended up leaving the school shortly after as well, and she kind of refused to ever meet my now husband. She did meet him once. We all went to get bagels, but like anytime he was visiting from England, I'd be like, oh, like, I really want you to see Sam, and she'd be like, no. And I was like, okay, that's kind of strange. Over this time, she was having a few different boyfriends, and she cheated on every single one of them, sometimes with their best friends. So this is when I started pushing away, because I'm like, I don't want to be friends with someone who has no remorse for something like that. We decided to go on a little girls' getaway upstate, and she is at the supermarket with me, and she goes, what should we cook them for dinner tonight? I go, who? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. Who are we cooking dinner for? This girl has the audacity to say that these two guys are coming over. One for me, one for her. I'm dating Sam at the time, okay? I think we were together maybe like 2 years at this point. I'm like, are you actually kidding me? She had these two guys come over, and I said to her, if you leave me alone with one of these men, I will never talk to you again. Thankfully, she did not, but I was not happy. I was texting Sam the whole time like, I have to get out of here. Also, side note, the guy that she was like bringing over, she cheated with her other boyfriend with this guy at one point, but she said it was one pump, so it didn't count as cheating. Now, the next part is probably the worst thing that she has ever done, and I don't know how I took her back after this. This should have been the last straw. But one of my friends passed away, and the day after she passed away, Olivia was gossiping about it to everybody. She messaged me, and she messaged my other friend, and she was like, hey, did you hear this is how she died? It wasn't even correct. Like, it wasn't even the way that she died, and she was just gossiping about it. So I said, yes, I understand that she passed. She was a close friend of mine, and I'd rather not talk about that. And she goes, oh, sorry, didn't know you guys were best friends. That was her reply to me saying that I was upset. Keep in mind, throughout our entire friendship, she never once was there for me. Like, anytime I needed her, she wasn't there. But every time she needed me, I dropped everything like that. Everyone around me, my friends and family, were always like, why are you still friends with her? She treats you like garbage, and I just couldn't see it. But after my friend passed and she was just making it a gossip thing and then not even showing her support or anything, that's when I was like, all right, you're disgusting. Anytime I would call her out on something, she would end up blocking me on legitimately every single platform. I don't know why. It was almost like I did something wrong. So she would block me, and then whenever she decided, like, oh, okay, I'm going to message her now, she would just message me like nothing happened. She would literally message like, hey, how are you? Not an apology, not anything. After the whole friend thing happened, I ended up taking her back again. It sounds like we're in a relationship. I ended up taking her back, and this is when it was like around the time of my wedding. So we were talking about my wedding. I was so excited. I obviously sent her the bridal shower invitation, the wedding invitation. She did not come to either one. My best friend did not come to our wedding. She didn't even send a congratulations card. She didn't even say congratulations. She also did say she was going to come to the bridal shower, and she just didn't come. Her parents are also just as bad because they've known me since I was 5 years old, and they couldn't even say congrats. So I was just like, this whole family is so toxic. And to this day, she has still been messaging me. And guess what, guys? I have not answered. So I'm finally done. Get rid of the toxic people in your life.
Storytime about how my boyfriend was hiding his 2-year relationship from me. So a little background information. I was 18 and a senior in high school. And in the middle of the school year, I had a new student in my 4th period class who we're going to call Jose, and he was 17 years old and in 11th grade. Now, he wasn't technically new because I'd seen him around school and everything like that. But up until this point, neither of us knew that each other existed. So he gets introduced to the class, blah, blah, blah. He sits in the very back of the room, and I knew that this man was going to be my boyfriend. So when I got home that day, I was texting my friend about him. Thankfully, she gave me his Snapchat. Fast forward, we're talking, and elevators get brought up. Now, in my school, you are not allowed to use the elevators unless you're injured or for some other reason. Well, he was talking about how he always used the elevators and nobody really cared. So I meet him at the elevator the next day and blah, blah, blah. We start flirting. And this led to him and I being super close. Like, we would FaceTime every day. We would always sit together at lunch, in class. Well, the one day I'm sitting in my homeroom and he comes in and he asked me to be his girlfriend. Of course, I said yes. So fast forward to Halloween, my family was handing out candy and he was going trick-or-treating with his family because he had younger siblings. And this is where our families were supposed to meet, but he didn't end up coming to my neighborhood, which I was super happy about. Well, then fast forward to my birthday. Our families were supposed to meet again, but it didn't end up happening again. And I wasn't really sure if this was the reason why things got weird between him and I. The one night I was over at my friend's house and Jose's on FaceTime with me. And I was talking about how I could pick him up and him and I could hang out. And he literally just didn't even say anything. So I was like, okay, is that a no? So then he was like, I don't know. I might be busy, blah, 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 blah. Him and I are on FaceTime. I'm asking him if he wants to hang out, and he's being super weird about it, being super standoffish. Well, fast forward a little bit, he seemed like he wasn't interested in me anymore, and it really hurt my feelings, obviously. So he didn't talk to me the rest of the day, and then he texted me the next day. And he was telling me how different we are and how we barely have anything in common and how we rushed into things. Pretty much a bunch of shitty excuses as to why he thinks that we should break up. Well, after that, him and I don't speak for a few days, and then I had a fake account on Instagram, and after our breakup, I viewed his story the one day. So then I look at his Instagram story, he posted a picture of another girl with a heart, and then I found her account, and she had pictures of them dating back from like 2 years ago. Now, still to this day, I don't know if he was cheating on her or if they were on a break or whatever, but I also thought that it was weird that they were dating because she was 19 and he was 17.
When I was 14 years old, 2 of my more wild friends texted me and said, Aaron, we need you to come over this weekend. We need a trip sitter. Okay, at the time, I just liked to smoke Reggie in my bedroom and have a panic attack. I wasn't really into trying new drugs. That's never been for me. Okay, but they knew I would be cool with it, and I wanted to make sure my friends were okay, so I said, okay, I'll come hang out with y'all while you do it. That weekend comes around, we went to my friend's house who lived with his mom, who actually lived in a huge fucking meth house where I'm from, in my hometown. A crazy trap house, okay? And we get there, and it's just so many crazy fucking people wearing fingerless gloves, so many meth monsters, so many fucking Band-Aids. And I'm sitting there, okay, and I'm having kind of a panic attack. But they had these 3 fucking monstrously obese pit bulls, okay? They were fat as fuck. I don't know what they were eating, okay? I'm assuming, I guess, anything that come in the house. I doubt many cuisines were enjoyed there, you know? So I'm sitting here fucking groping these dogs, freaking out a little bit, because I'm there. And I was like, guys, I don't know, like, to try a psychedelic, this seems like a weird environment to do it in. Like, we ain't doing that, bro. We needed you to come be a trip sitter for us, because we're finna try meth. I said, oh, you're gonna try meth. I said, listen, I said, you really, I said, I could leave a cassette tape with Eminem on it and just leave. I was like, that's probably all you really need based on what I've seen. They're like, listen, Aaron, we need you here to make sure we're good. I'm like, why didn't y'all tell me you was gonna smoke meth? I would have called out on the excursion. I wouldn't be here. Okay, and so my 2 homies just started smoking meth. Like, left it, like, beside me, started smoking meth. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm just groping these fat-ass dogs. Okay, these dogs were so used to the smell of meth. They loved it. And they were held it down at first. Like, they were really chilling. And then we lived, like, a 3-minute walk, or he lived, like, a 3-minute walk from the Walmart. They insisted, they said, please, can we go to Walmart? Can we go to Walmart? And I was like, sure. I don't want to fight with the 2 people on meth. They'll eat me or some shit. And they seem to be doing all right. And we start walking there. And it's a brisk winter afternoon. And they got their hands in their hoodie pockets. And they're just walking. And the one to my right just keeps clicking. He keeps going. And the one to my left is just ferociously freestyling hard as fuck. Like, I'm vanilla, but I'll kill him. I ain't a killer. I ain't a sucker. I'm like, what are you doing? Freestyling hard as fuck. And we go to Walmart. And they go to the fireworks section, and they steal, like, 3 packs of, like, the TNT brand, like, the dollar fireworks. We weren't old enough to buy fireworks, okay? They stole them, the little smoke bombs. And we walked back, and one of them lit a smoke bomb inside the trap house and threw it, and it fucking fills with smoke in the trap house. They thought it would be little, but it's filled with fucking smoke. And I go outside, and I'm freaking out. And I remember, holy fuck, the dogs. So then I go in there breathing in this heavy smoke like a fucking firefighter, saved the dogs, and then come out and went home and never spoke to them again.
Am I in the wrong for telling my sister that she's fat? I grew up in a very abusive household. I graduated high school at 17 so I could move out the day I grabbed my diploma. I couched her for a couple months until I turned 18 and got my first apartment at 18 years old with my boyfriend. We worked minimum wage jobs, working 60 plus hours a week so my boyfriend and I could afford rent. When we moved in, we only had a bed, a small 30-inch TV, my boyfriend's Xbox, and toiletries. Nothing else. Over the next 2 years, we began saving up money to get our first car. After getting a car, we applied to a job that paid more for fewer hours. We get raises every few months and profit sharing every quarter. We slowly began to update our apartment. Now, the only thing we were missing was a couch. The couch was donated to us by our apartment. Someone got evicted from their unit and left everything in there. The office, knowing that we don't have a couch yet, gave us the couch. After all of the upgrades, we decided to start hosting D&D at our house. Just me, my boyfriend, the DM, my brother-in-law, and my sister who weighs a whopping 375 pounds. My sister couldn't fit into any of our chairs, so she sat on the couch. We originally didn't have a problem with this until we noticed that our couch began to divot in the middle, and the bar that held the futon together underneath started to bend. My boyfriend and I agreed that we buy a chair that's built for her weight. The chair just came in, and we had D&D on Friday. We showed the chair to my sister, hoping that she would be grateful. We paid over $100 for this. We're not rich, so we had to dip into our savings to pay for this. My sister got mad at us, accusing us of calling her fat. We tried to calm her down, but trying to calm her down just made her scream more. My brother-in-law was telling us to look at what we started. I have to go home to this. You got this couch for free, just buy another one, etc. With my sister screaming in one ear and my brother-in-law talking in the other, I lost it. I said, everyone, STFU, you are completely right. Your fat ass is breaking our couch. You can lose weight easily, but choose to stay fat, slob. This is a problem that you can literally run from, but you chose to be fat and collect taxpayers' money to stay at home and eat more and gain more weight. Until you lose under 250 pounds, you're not allowed on our couch again. I admit this was a bit much, and I should have better controlled my feelings. I feel bad for saying what I said on Friday, but it felt good to finally say it. Last night, my brother-in-law was texting me, saying that my bullying caused her to have a mental breakdown, and that I should apologize. I told him that I'd apologize when she apologizes for bending our couch. So, am I in the wrong here?
So, not long ago at all, I was with a group of people, and we were talking about the craziest places that we've ever taken a shit. We were all going in a circle talking and stuff. Well, when it got to be my turn to tell the story, I lied. I freaked out and I lied because mine also happens to be a national felony. And the more I think about it, I feel like enough time has passed, so it's appropriate to tell the story. So I'm just going to get straight to it. In 6th grade, I moved to a new school. I've said this previously in my story. I moved to a new school. Like, my first day there, they give us a permission slip. Bop, we're going to Monticello. My mom signed it 2 weeks later. We're on the damn bus going to Monticello, which is Thomas Jefferson's house. I remember on the way there, somehow, I got buffalo wings. I think we stopped to eat or whatever. I ate the buffalo wings, but I remember thinking this is dangerous as fuck because they didn't have ranch. So these motherfuckers were not lubed up. I was eating non-lubricated buffalo wings straight to my gut, raw dogging it. Not a good maneuver to hit. Anyways, 30 minutes passes. We get to Monticello. That's probably like another hour. Anyways, we get to Monticello. And we're touring and stuff. And Monticello is Thomas Jefferson's old house and his whole plantation and stuff. And it's a cool historic place to go learn about history and how things used to be. Well, we're walking around and we get to the bottom of his house and we're touring and stuff. And I start feeling a sinister ass gurgle in my stomach. Like something's in there just pop, pop, pop. And I'm like, man, I should have lubed those wings up. I'm fucked up bad right now. And I'm like, I didn't have any friends yet, which was also giving me a little bit of anxiety because I was new to the school and everything. And I'm like, I have to take a diarrhea. Like, just straight up, I have to diarrhea right now. But I'm in Thomas Jefferson's house, so I don't know what to do. Well, we keep walking, and I look to my right, and I see a bathroom. There's a bathroom sitting there, but there's a rope in front of it. And I'm like, that's fucking Thomas Jefferson's old bathroom. And I'm like, no, Aaron, because you already know what I thought. And we kept walking. And I start contemplating if I should go take a diarrhea in Thomas Jefferson's bathroom or not. I had the demon on my shoulder and I had like an angel on my shoulder. The demon's like, Aaron, you have to go take a diarrhea in Thomas Jefferson's bathroom right now. If you don't take this shit's going to take you, my boy. The angel's like, Aaron, this is a national fucking landmine. If you take a shit here, it's going to be a big deal. Aaron, you have to take a shit. Aaron, you can't. Aaron, go get fucking butt to butt with Thomas Jefferson. Get butt to butt with Tom. Aaron, don't you dare fucking get butt to butt with Tom right now. The devil on my shoulder won. I got butt to butt with Thomas Jefferson. I got to the back of the group. Once we walked back out, we were walking across to go to the plantation outside. I slithered to the back of the group. I walked to the side, stepped over the little rope, went in, shut the door, and took a monster shit on the dry porcelain that was Thomas Jefferson's toilet. There was no water in it. I remember that there was some toilet paper. I don't know how old it was. I remember it was gritty as fuck. But I feel like I touched butt cheeks with Thomas Jefferson. And I feel like he'd rather me touch butt cheeks with him than diarrhea myself in his living room. I stayed with my grandma a lot growing up, in case y'all couldn't tell by my haircut. And it's sad to think that nowadays the only time I get to see her is when I go to family gatherings. Now, the family gatherings at her house are always something else because she retired and bought a small house, you know what I mean? She doesn't need anything big. It's just her and my grandpa Hector that live there. But we have a big family, so when we do gatherings there, you got to try to compete for a spot. You know what I mean? We got one couch, one sofa, that's it. That's all you got. You know what I'm saying? Every time I walk in, like I previously said, she lives there with my grandpa Hector, and Hector don't know a single lick of English at all, but he does do well with connecting to my adolescence. Like every time I walk in, he'd be like, yo, Jadaki. Every time I'd be like, hold up, I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know if he caught me slipping, he caught me cranking my shit or what, but due to the language barrier, I'll never know, so I just have to live in suspicion for the rest of my life. Moving on from this, I go in there, I get a ridiculously hot plate of chicken every time. It's what I like. You know, I got my Spanish side of the family. They make good hot chicken. Well, every time I go and I try to find a spot, since I was a baby, her neighbor Tom Ruth would always be like, hey, boy, come here, sit on my lap, come sit with me. You know, every time I'd be like, Tom Ruth, I don't know, cause like, you always be weirdly persistent, making me nervous. Well, this one time, the chicken was, like, absurdly hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was hitting Scoville units my brain couldn't imagine. And I realized I could not just lean against the wall and eat this. I had to hunker down and cry while I necked this chicken. You know what I'm saying? So I go in the living room knowing that I can't leave the living room. I have to find somewhere to sit down. And I'm walking around. Everything's taken. Well, I see Tom Ruth. Tom Ruth looks me in my eyes. He goes, "Hey, boy, come here. Come sit with me." I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Sitting with Tom Ruth can't be that bad. I'll just go sit on Tom Ruth's lap. Well, I sit down. You know what I'm saying? At first, I had no complaints. You know, the only weird thing was that Tom Ruth was a grunter. He was behind me, you know, eating, going, wasn't that bad. I could deal with it. Shit got kind of weird when Tom Ruth decided he wanted to hit a little bounce on his knee, a little bounce like this. So I'm on top of Tom Ruth, kind of just, I'm saying, bouncing on his shit a little bit, but he was bouncing me. Let's get that out the way. Anyways, I forgot to add this detail. I'm 14 years old. Okay, so I'm a little too old for it to be socially acceptable for me to be bouncing on Tom Ruth's shit. Anyways, he starts speeding up. You know what I'm saying? He starts speeding up, so I'm on top of Tom Ruth. Hit this shit right here. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I realize me and Tom Ruth's having a moment. I get up. I go to the kitchen. Okay, my grandma sees me. I ain't seen my grandma yet. She goes, "Hey, boy, what you doing? I ain't seen you." I said, "Sorry, honey, I got a plate that sat down." Well, I didn't know she was talking to Tom Ruth's wife, who actually was mad at me. Okay, Tom Ruth's wife go look at my grandma and be like, "That boy's a liar. He was too busy bouncing on Tom Ruth's lap." I'm like, hold up, wait. First of all, Tom Ruth was bouncing me. I wasn't bouncing on shit. And she go look at me in my eyes and say, "That ain't true. I heard his excited grunt."
She's one of this country's biggest influencers, and we met at an influencer event, and that is where she bullied me for being goth. It wasn't too long ago. I was invited to a pretty high-end movie premiere, and on a whim, I went. This is where I was minding my business, just talking, connecting with people, and all of a sudden, this shortish girl behind me taps me on the back, and I turn around and she goes, "I love your green lipstick." It was black. Very black. I said, "It's actually black, but thank you for the compliment." And then she introduces herself to me, and I introduce myself as well. Then she goes on to tell me how it's so rare to see people of my kind out and about, as if we are some sort of rare exotic creature. She then proceeds to pull out the infamous "no offense." No offense, but I don't like people like you. You guys are devil worshippers, and you make me really uncomfortable. Trying to gather myself mentally, I stand there shocked, trying to not call her a stupid bitch. But I ended up saying, you know, we do get that all the time. I just really don't enjoy fake people's presence in front of me. She asks me in a very taken aback tone, "Who was it here that you met that was fake? I need to know." I just said it was you. You preach positivity online, babe, but you're standing here right in front of me saying, "No offense, but you people are fucking disgusting."
My girlfriend whispered something to me when she thought I was asleep. Because of my job, I always wake up way earlier than my girlfriend, literally 2 hours earlier. So I also have to go to bed way earlier than her to get enough sleep. Yesterday evening, when I went to bed, I couldn't really sleep because I had an important event today at work that made me nervous. So I was still awake when my girlfriend went to bed. I was really hot, yes, even during winter, so I slept without my blanket. I thought about talking to her. Something told me to keep my eyes closed, and I did. She took the blanket and covered me with it. Then she kissed me on the forehead, and then she said it. She whispered it. She said every single word. Some people might say it's too cheesy, but I don't, and I can remember every single word. I love you. I love you so much. I love you more than anything in the world. I love you more than words can express. You make me laugh. You make me happy. You make me feel loved. I've never liked the idea of getting married, but you changed my mind. I want to stay with you forever. I'd rather die than live without you. My life isn't complete if you're not in it.
Wow.
I love you. Then she kissed my forehead again, and I tried my best not to let her know I was awake, which was hard because I teared up. After that, she went back to her side of the bed and laid down. I only then opened my eyes. I laid there for at least a half an hour until she started snoring, and I knew she was asleep. I got up, went to the bathroom, and cried my eyes out. This was the most wonderful thing I've ever heard. I've never felt so much love in my life. After many years of bullying, my self-confidence was so destroyed that I didn't know if I deserved to be loved, let alone that anyone could love me like that. What made it even more special was the fact that my girlfriend had a bad past and had a lot of trouble showing her feelings on the outside. Even with me, she had a hard time being vulnerable sometimes. And the fact that she said this when she thought I couldn't hear her means that what she said came from her heart.
Oh.
Am I the asshole for kicking a girl out of my party for calling her boyfriend daddy? I, female 24, was hosting a small-scale hangout with about 15 of my friends. One girl, female 23, is an acquaintance of mine, and she came with her boyfriend. We were all sitting around in the main room and eating pizza when she came to sit and sat on her boyfriend's lap. A little weird since there were open seats, but I didn't say anything. While we were talking as a group, she would always refer to her boyfriend as daddy. She would interject with things like, quote, "Daddy just bought me a new stand mixer," and "Daddy looks so handsome in this shirt, right?" I told him to get it. At first, we thought she was joking or messing with us, but she continued doing it, and the rest of us were side-eyeing each other and were kind of uncomfortable. I asked her if she could save the pet names for home, because some of us were feeling uncomfortable. She got upset and told me to stop making such a big deal over a nickname and slut-shaming her. I told her that wasn't my intention at all, but I would appreciate if she could stop because it was killing the vibe. She started ranting at me about a whole lot of stuff, and I just told her and her boyfriend to please leave. Her boyfriend was pissed too, but they eventually got out. The rest of the evening was less uncomfortable and way more peaceful. A few of my friends who didn't know the girl I kicked out thanked me for making her leave, but we all felt kind of awkward because of what happened. Am I the asshole?
Ruin my wedding to propose? I'll ruin your proposal. I, 35M, have a young brother Todd, 29M, who had a complicated birth and had to stay a month in the ICU. Because of that, my parents have always doted on him and denied him nothing, even if it was to the detriment of my sister Abby, 32F, and me. My brother gets off on attention and has on more than one occasion made himself the center of attention at either my sister's, or a cousin's special events. Because of this, Abby and I have a strained relationship with Todd and our parents. Unfortunately, Todd met and fell in love with Lucy, 24F, who decided to announce her own pregnancy at the baby shower my mom held for Abby, which Abby was rightfully pretty upset about. When I proposed to my wife Michelle, 30F, I just wanted to elope, but she really wanted her family to be there, so I invited my family out of obligation. While out, my best man Jim noticed a receipt from a jewelry store slipped out of Todd's pocket. Jim confronted Todd about this, which led to an argument. Jim told me everything, and I told Todd that he was no longer going to be a groomsman, because I knew he was going to propose at my wedding. Todd cried to our parents, which led to a real blowout in the family. In my parents' eyes, since Todd never admitted that he was going to propose to Lucy at my wedding, I was unfairly judging him. I refused and brought up Todd's past behavior. My parents couldn't refute this and got Todd to agree to not try anything at my wedding. This wasn't enough to convince me to let him be a groomsman, but I warned him that if as a guest, he tried anything, I would make him regret it. Fast forward to the wedding, and surprise, Todd walked over to Lucy and proposed to her during my wife's father-daughter dance, and did it in a way to make a scene so that everyone would notice. Cue my revenge. Jim and I had hired a woman to pretend to be Todd's side piece, who cornered Todd and Lucy and claimed that she was pregnant with his baby. Todd denied this up and down, but when she called his phone, I gave her his number and messed with Todd's phone to incriminate him. It didn't look good. Lucy threw the ring back at Todd and left in tears. When Todd saw the smile on my face, he knew that it was me, and I didn't respond to a single call/text from him or my parents until after the honeymoon. Lucy has thrown Todd's stuff out and has been denying him access to their kid. Todd is furious and is demanding that I clear his name. I sent him a text saying that I had no idea what he was talking about, as well as a screenshot of a bill for the wedding, and gave a vague message implying that if he wanted that, he'd have to pay for half the wedding costs. Michelle knew the whole time what I was planning, and gave me the green light after Todd ruined her moment with her dad, so I felt pretty good. But now even Abby thinks I went too far. Did I?